Hey, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Today, I want to talk about a case that ended up putting a national spotlight on the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women in the country. Really, it's an issue not just in America, but also an issue in Canada. There, since colonization of North America, this has been an ongoing issue, and it continues today. The story we are going to discuss is going to be about Savanna Greywind. She was 22 in 2017, and she was very heavily pregnant. Um, she was murdered by her upstairs neighbors, and the resulting aftermath of it was ridiculous. So let's get into the story. Savannah was a member of the Spirit Lake Sioux tribe in North Dakota, and she was such a sweet person. She would light up a room. And I know, that's a really common thing that people say, but really, she just brought joy to everyone she was around. She really had a good connection with her grandmother, so much that when her grandmother passed away, she actually got a tattoo in honor of her grandmother. It had like three dots and it said, "Too beautiful for this earth." She was really proud of her heritage. She would attend the powwows and she got a dream catcher tattooed on her other leg. And um, she lived on the reservation for part of the time in her life and just really, spent a lot of time with her family. In fact, back in August of 2017, she actually was living with her family. Although she was getting ready, I think it was like just under 2 weeks from then, she was getting ready to move into an apartment with her longtime boyfriend. His name was Ashton. Okay, they met when they were 15, but I mean, they were doing it. They were getting ready to move out into their new place, and Savannah was pregnant. She was about a month away from her due date. I think it was like the end of September that she was due to have their baby girl, and they had decided that her name was going to be Hazley Joe. And this baby was getting ready to be born into love. This baby had family. Everybody, was looking forward to it. And it was a hot summer. So just imagine how uncomfortable she was. Um, but, she was still there and still keeping in contact with everyone. And like she made sure that she was reaching out and letting everybody know all of her steps of the day. So, August 19th was a Saturday, and Savannah was spending time with her family at their apartment. Her neighbor from upstairs, Brooke Cruz, had come down, and they had seen each other, but they weren't like friendly neighbors. I don't think that they had really talked much at all, besides, maybe like the in passing, "Hey, how's it going?" Uh, Brooke lived on the third floor apartment with her boyfriend, William Hone, and you know, uh, even though they didn't really talk to each other much, for some reason, uh, Brooke ended up needing some help from Savannah. And Brooke had explained that she was working on a sewing project. I think it was a dress. And she was hoping that Savannah could come by and model it for her. So, she offered her $20, and for whatever reason, Savannah accepted it. Maybe it was just the idea of an easy $20 before the baby comes. They were planning on it taking really no more than an hour. So, she had gotten the pizza. She messaged her mom. She messaged Ashton and let them both know that she was going upstairs to help Brooke out with a sewing project. Unfortunately, Brooke and William were fucked up. Brooke was 38 and William was 32. And there were varying stories about like how many kids they had. And it was so somewhere between 5 and 7 for Brooke. And then I think two for William. it was a mess. And you know what? They had custody of none of their children. So whether it was 7, whether it was 9, they didn't have custody of any of their children. Basically, William was a roofer and Brooke stayed home. She did a lot of studying. She actually was very smart. It's a shame that she kind of just deteriorated mentally and went off the deep end, but you know, I guess even though she was smart, maybe her fortitude wasn't there. Is that it? Would that be what it is? I don't know. Feels right to say that. So there was just something broken in her brain, okay? It was not good. Now, William had a record of violence. Back in 2012, he actually had gotten convicted of abuse to his son. His son was a baby, okay? And in William's care, this baby ended up with skull fractures. Yes, his own baby back in 2012, skull fractures. And you know what? He tried to say that it was because he set the baby down and he just isn't sure really what happened. However, he set the baby down. It's like, dude, are you fucking setting your baby down on concrete or something? Because that just doesn't make sense, okay? Sorry, but you know, you did something fucked up and it wasn't right. So, I mean, he was found guilty and he ended up having a felony on his record for that. And, good. But he had some kind of real big desire to continue to procreate, I mean, outside of the law, an ex-fiance had actually done an interview regarding William, and she had talked about how he had violent tendencies and he liked to choke her when they were being intimate. And it started to get to a point where she became too fearful to stay with him and broke it off. And, at some point, William and Brooke met. There were a lot of reports out there about how William would really dive headfirst into beers, and he was an alcoholic, okay? And him and Brooke both, they were racist from the different things that people recall them saying around them. It just like none of it was a good look. They were trashy, okay? Just trashy ass people. People that you wouldn't want to be around, and uh, Brooke actually kept very detailed diaries, and you can find portions of them online. And if you go to read them, it's just, man, she's got some things going on, and not all of them are good. Now, based on what we know about Brooke's childhood, she had a difficult time growing up. She had early interactions with the law as a young adult. I think I even saw that she gave birth to her first baby at the age of 14. So, I mean, it must have been some pretty dire circumstances for her, whether it be because of conditions of her family or whether it just be because of uh her own issues. She kept finding herself in these awful positions. In her diary she talks about getting with someone and having that real lovey-dovey feel, and then how it deteriorates, and she starts talking about being abused. And it's it's a it's a tough thing to try to understand, but trust me, like, fuck this lady, right? Don't feel sorry for her, because I don't know. Neither one of them. I feel sorry for neither one of them. Like, these people were fucking evil. So, I mean, I know it may sound weird to some people that I'm going into the background of them, but I think it's just important to know, like, exactly who you're fucking dealing with. And they're shit. Like, they are shit. They have their records to prove it. Brooke's over here abandoning her children. William's over here breaking his baby's skull. And then what are they doing? They're trying to have another freaking baby. They want a family. Like, that seems to be William's greatest desire, is for another baby, for fuck all. I don't know. Now, Brooke was smart. She liked to do a lot of studying and she really got into psychology. Okay. And by getting into psychology, she started really finding an interest in, serial killers. And instead of analyzing to like point out red flags, which is kind of what I feel like a lot of the online true crime people do. You use it and you look at people and you go, yeah, I'm pretty sure that you'd put a body in your basement. I mean, that's kind of how I think of it. It's interesting psychology, but it's also like, let's teach you about some red flags here, okay? But for her, it ended up to where she started empathizing more with the murderers, okay? And it's like, okay, listen, we can acknowledge that they had some shit, but also it doesn't provide an excuse. So now, after the abuse that Brooke had fallen victim to by William, they still stayed together and they were living in that apartment. But apparently, in January of 2017, William, his desire to have a baby was there, and he was thinking about leaving Brooke, and Brooke couldn't deal with that. Okay. Brooke had convinced herself that he was the man for her. And listen, I understand, and I'm not blaming women who are abused because that is a very difficult thing. And, I am very open with my opinion and, don't shit on women who are in abusive situations. Don't shit on men who are in abusive situations. But if you murder and like it's as fucked up as this, yes, I will shit on you. Okay. Yes, I'm so not sorry about that. You'll know at the end, okay? We'll get there. Don't worry. As they're fighting and everything, Brooke is trying to come up with a plan to not lose William, okay? So what she does is she tells William that she's pregnant.
So he leaves then in December of 16, moves out of the house. Do you make attempts to get him back?
I did.
How?
I told him that I was pregnant.
What was your purpose in telling him that you were pregnant?
I wanted him to come home.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
How did you tell him?
I sent him an email, I do believe, with a positive pregnancy test, a picture.
Anything else other than a pregnancy test that you sent to him?
Ultimately, I think I sent him a picture of a sonogram picture as well.
Any heartbeats?
Oh, yes, yes.
Where did you get the positive pregnancy test?
It was an old one that I had from my youngest daughter.
One that you had kept?
Yes.
How about the sonogram?
Same. It was an ultrasound picture from Tricia.
Were you able to conceal the fact that these were old from him?
Yes, I was.
And how about the heartbeat?
I got that offline.
Did you ever meet him at the hospital?
I did.
How bad did you yourself desire this pregnancy or wish that...
Very much.
Sorry, I spoke over you there. You wanted this pregnancy very much.
Yes.
Now, during the year, it seemed that Brooke really dove into like obstetrics and all of the different medical handbooks. And, she really actually was trying to make the pregnancy a thing, but it didn't work. She was failing. And, William ended up knowing there's only so long that you can go trying to fake a pregnancy before it's very apparent that you are not pregnant. Okay. So in August, early August or whatever it may be, it was a few weeks before they took Savanna. But in August, it's noted that, Brooke and William are talking, and William's talking about how she better come up with a baby.
I don't remember the details, but that was when he said to me, he had told everybody that I was pregnant, and I needed to produce a baby.
And she doesn't want him to leave her. And then William says this thing one day that Brooke just kind of latches onto. He says, you see that Greywind girl? She's very pregnant. So basically, and I try to give the benefit of the doubt, but also like, I have questions, okay? No respect. No respect for either one of these guys. Anyway, so Brooke took that as a cue that what she needed to do is she needed to steal Savannah's baby, right? Because that's what a sane person thinks. So Brooke had a whole birthing kit at home. She had done her studying, she had looked through the literature, and really what she needed now is she needed to be able to get Savannah alone. And how was she going to do that? Well, what she ended up doing was going down and asking about, helping with the sewing project. Originally, there was one time, like 2 weeks before this, where she did try, but Savannah wasn't interested in going up. And now, William had been bragging at work about how he was getting ready to have another baby, and, you know, uh, he knew that there was no baby coming, and he had pointed out Savannah to Brooke, and to Brooke, to her, this meant, oh, Savannah, that's how I can get a baby. So we're going to go back to that August 19th of 2017. Brooke goes downstairs. She has Savannah come up. She models the dress, and then the family never hears from her again. And they had a really big culture that was very, very focused on family. They always were in contact. I mean, Savannah was a little bit nervous about getting ready to actually give birth, but anybody who's given birth can tell you that that's universal. Like, everybody is nervous about getting ready to have a baby. You don't know if the baby is going to come out, properly. You don't know how painful it's going to be. You don't know what kind of delivery it's going to be, just all the unknowns, and going through such a life-changing experience where there are a lot of horror stories out there. Mothers still die in birth. It's scary, and Savannah was nervous about that, but other than that, I mean, it's all normal. She's getting ready to move in with Ashton, like their love was so strong. I mean, they got together when they were 15, 7 years, and they're having a baby. They're moving on with life, and it wasn't a bad time for her. She was just at the beginning. I mean, maybe it's because Brooke and William had such a hard time in life themselves. Maybe that's why Brooke was thinking that anybody would be so willing to believe that. And for her, fortunately, when the police came by to check, they did believe it. So Savannah's family called really quickly. They called the police like only a couple of hours afterward, because when they went looking for Savannah, they couldn't find her. Brooke had told them that Savannah had left, and, what are they supposed to do there, other than, I mean, illegal stuff, but, barging into an apartment and tearing it apart, it just not a good idea. They just want Savannah back, and that's it. She's vulnerable. She's pregnant. It's very, very hot because it's the end of summer. She didn't take her keys. She didn't take any of her personal belongings. Her car was still in the driveway. So this was not like her. The police, though, they actually listened to the neighbors rather than the family. Like, yeah, I know the family was pretty hysterical, but who wouldn't be? And when you know for sure the last place that the person that you're looking for was, that those people are volatile because the neighbors hear them fighting, of course, you're going to know that something's happening, so they deal with the police. The police go up there, and they actually are let in by Brooke and William, to look through the apartment. And it's been a few hours, and the searches that they did, oh, listen, okay, it's fucked up. All right, I know I'm smiling or whatever, but it's just like a way to not completely lose my shit, because what they did when they searched through, I just don't get it. I don't get how they didn't see anything. All right. The police cleared it. They went through the apartment, they cleared it, and they walked away. Yeah, I know they didn't have a warrant, whatever. Some people are going to say that, but still, like, just, I can't get over it, all right? I just can't, because they come a second time and they still don't notice anything. They don't notice anything that would really make them suspicious. Not the stacks of obstetric manuals, not the delivery supplies. I mean, I don't know if it was out or whatever, but there's just, when we get a little bit further on into the story, I think you'll understand a little bit more about why I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck? You guys are like, well, they're looking through, what are they supposed to find? Well, I'll tell you in a little bit, but let's continue. So the police go through and they're talking to everybody and they're kind of suspicious now. There was like a hit and run late at night around a Walmart. And when they do their investigations, they find out it's William. And, the family also is calling because they're watching too. It wasn't just Savannah's family. They also called the other, they called their family, they called the different tribes around the area, and everybody was looking for her, so that included, they had people at that apartment. Okay, so they're looking, and they actually notice that Brooke and William had gone to the store, and when they came back, they were being real shady about this bag that they had and running real quick up the stairs with it and everything. And I don't know, I know that William said they went to Walmart to get himself some shoes, and yeah, he needed new shoes because his other ones, well, he had thrown them away. We'll get to that in a little bit too. So they go upstairs and they have diapers, they have the baby, but the police still don't know, okay? The police had checked their apartment 3 times, okay? They did not find the baby. They did not find Savanna. And, infuriatingly enough, and this carries through their interviews too, William started acting real like indignant, like, these people are after me for no reason. It's like, bro, they know that you did something, like, drop your shit, not gonna work, okay? But I mean, just watch the interview of him. It's really, really gross to see that, but I guess choices were made by him and he really went that route. What an entitled bitch. Anyway, now when the police are asking around William's work, they're hearing from all the guys that he works with that he was bragging about them just having a baby. And, this baby was miraculously born. And, like the day after that, Savannah had gone missing. Okay. I mean, I don't know if he told the coworkers about Savannah, but, they might have heard. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, so the police know now. And now they're able to actually go and, I mean, now they just now feel like they can go and get a warrant. But I don't know. I feel like you might actually, I mean, did anybody ask? Like the first time when the family actually went there, did anybody ask about getting a warrant? That's what I wonder, because I feel like it makes sense to grant one. I don't know. You could always run it by a judge, or, I mean, police don't always use warrants, Just saying. August 24th of 2017 was when they were able to actually get the warrant, okay? This was 6 days after Savannah had gone missing, so I don't know. I feel like that's too long. That's too long, The first 24 hours are so important. We see that everywhere. It's a very commonly known fact, and I think there is a possibility that there could have been a judge that authorized it, but, Savannah's family came out later on saying that they felt that the police didn't do everything that they could have, and I fucking feel the same. And really, it's such a disappointment, but kind of expected in the worst of ways. Now, when the police went to the apartment, they ended up actually having to use a battering ram to open the door because Brooke had put a couch in front of the door. So I think I saw a picture of it online and it was just, it was, you could see how they ended up having to break it, you know? But lo and behold, what do they find? They find Brooke with a baby, okay? And, you know, the baby is actually Haley Joe. It's Savanna's baby. Now, we don't know this right away. Child Services ended up having to actually take possession of the baby. They took custody while they were working out the DNA test, but you know, Savannah's whole family is right there because they live in that same complex. They know what's going on. They hear the commotion. So what do they see? They see officers carrying out this beautiful baby. And this baby looked like Savannah and Ashton. This baby didn't even look like Brooke and William, but you know, Brooke was trying to pass it off as her own baby. But, you know, the officers hadn't noticed her being pregnant. So it was just like, very, very suspicious how your pregnant neighbor goes missing and then all of a sudden you have a baby. Okay, cool. I hear you wondering, how in the hell did they go through that apartment 3 times and not notice a baby? Well, later on, William does like to say that the baby was so well behaved and this and that. And it's just like, shut the fuck up, William. Nobody wants your opinion. Disgusting. It's a shame that you ever got to get that close to that fucking baby. Good thing she didn't end up like your son. Ooh, sorry. Meant that. Now, even with finding the baby, they were not able to still find Savannah. Where was Savannah? So the story that Brooke gives changes a couple of times. And at first, she says that Savannah had come over and left after Savannah learned from Brooke how to induce your own labor by sticking, you know, sticking a rod up herself to break her water. But no, come on, is that believable? No, nobody believes it. Nobody that knows anything about the Greywind family would believe that, or about how Savannah and Ashton were. Nobody would believe it. Brooke ends up telling the officers that Savannah ended up showing up a few days after she had left and brought the baby over to her and said that she's the only one that she trusted with the baby. Now, if that was true, I just want to know again, how dare you? All right, Brooke, how dare you? Because you knew that the family was right downstairs. If that had been the case, why didn't you just give the baby back? You know, obviously your story was bullshit. Okay. Then the story that Brooke gives, I mean, it's changing. What can you really believe? So it's kind of left up in the air. You know, the courts ended up making their determination on this one, but it's fuzzy still. You know, it still feels fuzzy. Now, William was telling the police that he had just come home from work, and when he got home, there was a big bloody mess, and Brooke was right there holding the baby and telling him, "Look, it's our baby. This is our family." But was that really true? I mean, here's what he did. William actually ended up cleaning up, helping her clean up. He takes the rags, he takes his boots. Yeah, yeah, remember how he was getting new shoes at Walmart? Yeah, he needed them because they were covered in blood, so he got rid of them. He got rid of the boots and the rags at different random dumpsters, and it's like, yeah, nothing suspicious about that, huh? And I mean, he explained that off by, well, yeah, I was already being so harassed by the Greywind family. Well, yeah, of course you were, you dumb fuck. You should have been. Okay, bye. So, I mean, that's his explanation, which, you know, nobody believes, but okay, continue on. Now, according to him, Brooke had actually ended up killing Savannah, okay? What they did and how they were able to get the baby was, you know, Brooke pulled the baby out after giving a crude C-section. But, you know, their stories are whatever they are, and you know, Brooke ends up telling them too that, you know, she actually wasn't the one that killed Savannah. She wasn't sure if she had killed Savannah, and that William had done the last thing to kill her, and he had taken a rope and strangled Savanna with the rope, saying, well, if she wasn't dead before, she is now. Both completely fucking disgusting versions of events, but, it's unclear still. I mean, I know I have my personal views on it, but does it align with what the court thinks? Not completely, so. So, I hear you wondering, how were they able to hide Savanna and how were they able to get her out of the apartment? Because the subsequent, like, much more in-depth search of the apartment did not come up with Savanna. I mean, yes, they had baby Hazley Joe, and I'm really glad that they got her and she was being taken care of, but the question still remained, where's Savanna? Is she okay? And it was really looking like she wasn't, and that ended up being the case. William and Brooke were able to dump Savanna's body by putting it in a dresser that William had actually fitted to be able to go downstairs and hold together with Savanna inside. Okay. They went to the Red River, and that's where they dumped her. On August 29th, some kayakers actually found her, and basically, and there's a picture out there where you can see them holding this tightly wrapped human body in plastic. You can tell that it's a human body in there, and I was really dismayed to hear that after they called the police to come out and, take hold of the plastic wrapped body, it took them 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes. And it was very clear. Like, I'm sure that the kayakers made it clear. I mean, they stayed there the whole time, making sure that, it didn't go anywhere, which good on them, but now, Savanna ended up being identified by the tattoo that she had had for her grandmother, "Too beautiful for this earth," on her ankle. The coroner ended up not being able to actually fully rule what ended up being the actual thing that murdered Savanna. It was a toss-up. I mean, she had been cut from hip to hip in order for that baby to be pulled out of her by Brooke, okay? When that happened, as you can think of with any large wound like that, blood was pouring out. She was bleeding profusely. There was not efforts being made to save her because the person doing the C-section only cared about the baby. In fact, the person doing the C-section wanted her dead. Okay. And then William, going back to talk about him, I mean, there was a rope around her neck. She had been strangled by a rope too. And that was the other thought that the coroner had. She could have been strangled to death or she could have just died from loss of blood. It's not something that they know. And it's awful. I mean, what they did to her, the indignity that she had to suffer through, it's disgusting. And I was really happy at first to hear that they both had been convicted and they both were supposed to spend life in prison. But William actually ended up fighting and going up to the Supreme Court, and tell me why they changed it. I mean, he really insists that he couldn't have done it, but you know what? He had enough of a part in it. If it really, if he actually was not somebody that should be locked up for life, don't you think he would have said something, right? I mean, the baby didn't even look like them. What did they think they were going to do? Like, these people were dumb as fuck, okay? Nothing thought through. That was just awful. And then just the ramifications of what it's done to that family. Fuck those guys, man. So in the bathroom closet, the way that they were able to actually hide Savanna is that bathroom closet had like this weird little compartment, and they had shoved her into the bathroom closet and hidden her in there because there was, the extra space and everything. And, the police just didn't look. They didn't look in the bathroom closet. They didn't hear the baby because, they were putting the baby in suitcases and hiding her under blankets. And it's just, I mean, it's so odd. And both of these people, Brooke and William, they are just they are in their comfort zone lying, and it really shows. There's some of their interviews that are out there with the police, and it just shows. And Brooke ended up pleading guilty. She got her life sentence, and she gives the sorry thing, but how sorry are you really? I don't know. I guess I'm not that forgiving. Probably would be better if I could be, but no. Nah, no, they don't deserve it. So, after the whole situation, after the court case, after they went through everything, um, life has gone on. Haley Joe is 6 years old now. Her dad was able to get custody of her after the DNA test came back and showed that they were a match, and that was his and Savanna's baby. And they do their best. They keep Savanna in Haley Joe's life. And you can look up and you can see some of the updated pictures, and she is so loved. They're doing a really good job at, letting her know. And shame on William, shame on Brooke. They ripped this little girl's mommy from her, and that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. I did say that there was more good that came out of this, and that's right. The Savanna's Act actually ended up passing through Congress back in 2020. It was something that was pushed because of what had happened to Savanna, and it's supposed to help with coordination between the different governments, the tribal authorities, the state authorities, and the federal authorities, giving tribal nations access to the databases. But they still need funding to be able to get the equipment and everything, and that's right there available from the government. So there's still a lot of learning going on right now. It's a new program, and as much as everybody can understand and spread the word and make sure that all of its benefits are being utilized, hopefully that helps. Those statistics that are out there for the missing and murdered Indigenous women, they should alarm everybody. And you can't just not do anything about it. You can't just not say anything about it. It's important that this information is shared. So Savanna's Act requires the Department of Justice to provide training to law enforcement and tribal and urban Indian organizations to track cases of missing and murdered Native Americans and provide grants to implement policies, report statistics, among other things. That way, these Native people in the Native authorities can actually get all of the equipment that they need to be able to access all of the information and to be able to do the reporting in the way that it needs to be done. This stuff needs to be tracked so that we can understand and try and prevent. That's the whole point of gathering statistics, is to prevent unwanted outcomes. Now, there is a second law that came about, and this is called the Not Invisible Act, and it requires the Department of Justice and Department of Interior to establish a joint commission on violent crime within Native American lands and against Native Americans with other things, because again, having this information is more knowledge, and this knowledge needs to be used to empower and to change all of these ugly statistics that have really just cast a shadow on the country. Not only the country, the whole continent. Society's better than this. We're better than this. And it shouldn't have to be in 2020 that we're making laws to put out protections for people like this, okay? It's the very least that could be done. Being able to share information. We don't have to worry about paper like that anymore. It's digital. It should be a no-brainer. All of the same stuff that anybody in the United States has access to should also be available for the native lands. There shouldn't be any issues with sharing the resources. So if you stayed this long, thank you for hanging out with me and going through this story. It's a really important one, and take a chance to go and look up some of the statistics out there. You'll probably learn something, and hopefully you can make sure that you're keeping more of an eye out and spreading the word. So, thank you for coming by again, and I will see you next time.